Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and a sort of history video, sort of. So I have read Horse and Hounds all my life, as I imagine many of you who watch this channel have also done. It's it's the kind of Bible of equestrian magazines, and it makes me smile fondly when I think of Horse and Hound because as a teenager I had this huge stack of them in my bedroom, like literally nearly floor to ceiling in height, because I never threw a Horse and Hound away. You know, they'd always be in the one in the back of the car or in the horse box, or if you went on holiday you'd always take the Horse and Hound with you. And my favourite thing of all is that, and it makes me laugh now even saying it, is the want to get in Horse and Hound. Like, I was so desperate to get a write-up because it always used to feel that you had made it. If you got a write-up in Horse and Hound, you had made it in the horse world. And I was very lucky because Mr. Coop, who's in the pictures above now, actually achieved that dream for me on a few occasions in eventing and in dressage by getting a photo in the Horse and Hound and a write-up. And I can remember like waiting for that Thursday when the magazine would be delivered and then like looking through it as fast as possible to try and see, because you didn't always know if you were going to get a photo, trying to look through as fast as possible to see, and then I'd like cut out the clipping and I'd put it in a photo album, and I really cherished those moments, and I would happily have another write-up. It might have to be Sienna, I don't think it's going to be Corporal anymore. So the first ever Horse and Hound came out on the 29th of March 1884. Who knew that Horse and Hound was that old? I certainly didn't. And it came out in a very kind of newspaper layout, and it was 2p, and under the banner Horse and Hound it says A Journal of Sport and Agriculture. And this was exactly that. It's talked about racing and hunting, a little bit about agriculture. You'd get the coaching timetable in there. There would occasionally be a little bit on breeding and polo as well. It was brought out by the Honourable Berkeley Portman, who about sort of 5-10 years later appointed his son Arthur Berkeley Portman to be editor of the magazine. And it really was dominated with racing and hunting, really, because obviously back then that was incredibly a big, important sport to the Victorians. But when I think about Horse and Hound now and knowing how old it is, I just think how many firsts Horse and Hound must have covered. You know, from the first Olympia horse show to just how much our history has changed in the equestrian sport. So, the kind of forming of BSJA, the winning of medals at Olympic sports in equestrian, obviously, like all that would have been covered by Horse and Hound over the 138 years that it's been running for. And it just slightly blows my mind, really. Now, I have had a few issues in being able to research Horse and Hound because trying to get my little mitts on a very old magazine seems nearly impossible. In fact, the only thing I've come across is a copy of the very first one that went out. And again, it doesn't really tell me masses about it. It just sort of shows that it was talking about racing and point-to-point meetings, etc. And then I have come across in Horse and Hound a actual original one that is for sale. But what I did find is a book which Horse and Hound brought out in the 1970s called 90 Years of Horse and Hound. And in there it has some really great snippets from the magazine over at that point, the 90 years. And in there, it's really interesting. So I've ordered the book. So I found it on eBay for £3 and I've ordered it. So that's really exciting. And you can see here, this is what the Horse and Hound would have looked like back then. So very newspaper, lots of words, like our magazine's a lot more attractive now, I think, personally speaking. Lots of little adverts to the side. And it just, you needed a good pair of glasses to read through that. Here you can see it looking a little bit more normal. There you can see about an auction that's coming up. Lots of horse sales would be advertised in here. Any point-to-points that were coming around the corner, that kind of thing. But very newspaper in style. And so I thought I would just read a couple of the little articles that I found that would have been in, a Horse and Hound like this around that era. Because they tended to like to sort of write accounts on like a hunting meet or a race day, that kind of thing. So I thought I would just read 3 little brief accounts that I picked up out of this book that had many snippets from the magazine over the years. And the first one's a hunting one, and it just really grabbed me because it's very much my area. They're all places I recognise on it. And they really did give quite in-depth accounts of like the day's meet. I imagine people probably really enjoyed reading like what the country was like, the kind of jumps they came across and that kind of thing. So this is from 1892. It was a wild, rough day on Friday, February the 2nd, when the VWH hounds met at East Court House. But there was a good scent and the hounds ran fast. This run was over a splendid line of country, every inch of it grass, no railways, canals or barbed wire. But the fences wanted jumping. And they really do go on to sort of talk about how the hounds were really lucky that day because they escaped a Great Western train. And then we move on to another story, and this time from October 1905, and it's talking about the first international horse show that opened at Olympia. And it writes, "Nothing in the history of horse shows has been so comprehensive. Nothing before has included such large numbers of well-filled classes. All nations sent the best of their kind, and the Olympia Company has spared neither trouble nor expenses in their reception." And I've seen pictures of what Olympia looked like when it first came out, and oh my goodness, it looked sensational. Like, it was something special. Like, Olympia is still special now, but the amount of decoration, like, I've actually ordered something very special that's coming soon, and I'll do a video on it because I am so excited, so excited. But it talks about the arrangements were the most elaborate and the prizes were very princely, and the decorations and everything was like on such a grand scale, and the people that attended were very fashionable and well dressed. And there was actually, so when it first opened, there was 124 classes, 600 horses supplied 2,000 entries. How amazing is that? Can you imagine? Honestly, it looked like something I don't think we could even imagine. Like, I think it really was a very flash show, and a lot of people wanted to go to it. And then finally, another little article which I thought was really fun in it is that they used to do like a town and country gossip section, which I think is brilliant. And there was an article on there about the dangers of the London street in 1908 and talking about the traffic, and it's becoming a serious problem, and that people kind of didn't want to venture out onto the roads because of the traffic. And that was quite interesting to read as well, you know, talking about the danger of the taxis, because, you know, some of those horse taxis were pretty speedy and people were getting knocked over and the drivers weren't always following the rules for it. So I can't wait to get the book so I can read through a lot more of the articles that are in there. And I'm hoping to do some sort of little videos off the side of this. But yeah, it makes for very interesting reading. So who knew that Horse and Hound had been around for 138 years? And hopefully it goes on to last a lot more.